The galactic research vessel, Eternal Seeker, drifted silently in high Earth orbit, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it invisible to human detection methods. Senior researcher Xylix, a towering crystalline being from the Arxis system, stared at the readouts with all four of their optical clusters twitching in disbelief. "Impossible," they whispered, the sound creating ripples through their translucent form. "Run the analysis again." The ship's AI complied, but the results remained unchanged. The humans below had just accomplished something that should have taken centuries and mere decades. They had taken their primitive combustion rockets and transformed them into reliable spacecraft capable of reaching their red neighbor planet in months rather than years. "Director Vale needs to see this immediately," Xylix muttered, compiling their findings. But before they could transmit their report, the ship's emergency protocols activated. Warning lights pulsed through the crystalline corridors as the A's voice echoed. "Anomaly detected. Unknown energy signature approaching at impossible velocities." Xylix rushed to the observation deck, their crystalline form reflecting the emergency lights in cascading patterns. What they saw defied every known law of physics. A human vessel, crude by galactic standards, was performing maneuvers that should have torn it apart. "Magnification, please," Xylix requested, their voice trembling. The view zeroed in on the vessel's markings. "Experimental propulsion TST Flight 047. The humans were testing new engines. Not in simulations, not in controlled environments, but in actual space, with living pilots pushing the boundaries of what their materials could withstand. The data streams showed structural stress levels that exceeded the ship's theoretical limits, yet it held together through sheer engineering stubbornness. "They're using their atmospheric plane designs in space," Analysis Officer Cree noted, their tentacles writhing in agitation. "That's not how spacecraft are supposed to work." "Tell them that," Xylix responded, watching as the human vessel executed another impossible turn. Their sensors indicated the pilot was experiencing G-forces that should have caused unconsciousness, yet they maintained perfect control. The human ship suddenly stopped, hanging motionless in space. The impossible deceleration should have liquefied any organic being. Yet their scans showed the pilot's life signs were stable, even elevated, suggesting excitement rather than distress. "Are they enjoying this?" Cree asked incredulously. Before Xylix could respond, their worst fears materialized. The human vessel's sensors had detected something about their cloaking field. Rather than retreat from the unknown phenomenon, the humans did the unthinkable. They moved closer to investigate. "Initiate emergency protocols," Xylix ordered. But it was too late. The humans had launched a probe directly at their location. It was primitive, barely more than a metal box with sensors, but it carried something unexpected. A message broadcast on all frequencies in multiple formats. "Hello, we know you're there. Would you like to talk? We come in peace and bring coffee." The Eternal Seeker's bridge crew froze in horror. Not only had the humans detected them through supposedly perfect camouflage, but they were treating first contact with an unknown alien species as casually as meeting a neighbor. "They can't be serious," Cree whispered. "No species reacts to first contact this way. There should be panic, confusion, or at least proper diplomatic procedures." The probe continued its approach, now broadcasting detailed technical specifications of itself and the human vessel, along with what appeared to be scientific research papers about theoretical faster-than-light travel. There, sharing their technology. Xylix's crystalline form flickered in confusion. "Freely? Without knowing anything about us." "Senior researcher," the ship's AI interrupted. "I've analyzed the probe's contents. The humans have included mathematical proofs suggesting improvements to our cloaking technology." The bridge fell silent. These supposedly primitive beings had not only detected their presence, but had already theorized how their technology worked and how to enhance it, all while performing impossible maneuvers in a spacecraft that resembled something out of their entertainment videos. Xylix made a decision that would change galactic history. They opened a channel. The human pilot's face appeared on their screen. grinning beneath their helmet. "Hi there, I'm Captain Sarah Chen. Sorry about the unconventional greeting, but we figured anyone advanced enough for cloaking technology would appreciate a little scientific discussion. Want to compare notes on quantum field manipulation?" In that moment, Xylix understood why their superiors had classified Earth as a restricted zone. It wasn't the humans' technology that made them dangerous. It was their complete disregard for what should be impossible, combined with an insatiable curiosity that bordered on madness. Director Vale, Xylix transmitted to headquarters. Their message marked highest priority. "We have a situation. The humans don't just break rules. They don't even acknowledge them. And the most terrifying part, they're eager to share everything they learn along the way." The response was immediate. "Return to base immediately. First contact protocols have failed. We need to completely reassess our understanding of human capabilities." As the Eternal Seeker prepared to depart, Captain Chen's voice came through one last time. "Hey, where are you going? We haven't even shown you our new quantum tunneling experiments yet. Did you know you can use them to make really amazing toast?" Xylix added a personal note to their report. "The humans must be classified as a Class 1 civilization immediately, not because of their technology, but because they combine the curiosity of infant species with the innovation of advanced ones, while possessing none of the restraint that usually develops between these stages. They don't just reach for the stars. They try to redesign them to work better." The Eternal Seeker vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a very disappointed Captain Chen and her crew, who immediately began drafting papers on the observed alien technology and proposing ways to recreate it using spare parts from their ship's cafeteria. The galaxy would never be the same. The humans weren't coming to join the galactic community. They were going to revolutionize it, one impossible achievement at a time. The Galactic Federation's Supreme Admiral Vexthor stood before the holographic display of Earth, his scaled armor reflecting the blue glow of the planet below. The initial reports from the Eternal Seeker had been dismissed as exaggeration. Now, 3 solar cycles later, he was beginning to understand just how wrong they had been. "Status report," he commanded, his crystalline teeth glinting. "The humans have." His intelligence officer, Mira, paused, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with anxiety. "They've modified their primitive satellite network into a defense grid." "How?" Vexthor demanded. "They shouldn't have the technology." "They didn't, sir. They just figured it out. They're using their communication satellites, weather monitoring systems, and even their orbital debris to create a detection network that rivals our most advanced sensor arrays." The Admiral's claws tightened on his command console. The invasion had seemed foolproof. Earth's resources were vital for the Federation's expansion, and humans were supposedly centuries behind in technological development. Yet somehow, they had organized a global defense in mere days. "Show me the mining operation in their Arctic region," he ordered. The hologram shifted to display one of their resource extraction sites, or rather, what remained of it. The humans had somehow turned the ice itself into a weapon, using thermal dynamics in ways that the Federation's scientists had never considered possible. "They're using their planet's natural systems against us," Mira explained. "They've developed methods to trigger controlled avalanches, redirect ocean currents, and even weaponize their weather patterns. These are survival adaptations," Vexthor realized. "They've been fighting their own planet since they evolved." A new alert flashed across the display. In Australia, humans had converted their mining equipment into powerful electromagnetic pulse generators. In South America, they were using agricultural machinery to create underground tunnel networks that confused Federation sensors. African nations had transformed their solar farms into heat-based weapons that could disable Federation dropships. But it was the situation in what they called Silicon Valley that truly demonstrated humanity's terrifying potential. A group of human programmers had not only decoded Federation encryption, but had begun uploading what they called memes to military communication channels. "Sir," Mira reported, her bioluminescence flickering with suppressed amusement, They're using pictures of small Earth creatures with humorous text to demoralize our troops. How is that possible? Vex Thor demanded. The images are surprisingly effective, sir. 3 battalions have requested reassignment after being bombarded with something called Grumpy Cat. The Admiral stared at the global display, watching as humans consistently turned their seemingly primitive technology into increasingly effective defensive systems. They weren't just fighting back. They were innovating at a pace that defied comprehension. New development in their region called Canada, Mira announced. They've modified their winter sports equipment into high-speed assault vehicles. The locals are using something called hockey sticks with devastating effectiveness against our ground forces. Vex Thor watched the footage in disbelief. Humans on modified snowmobiles were outmaneuvering Federation hover tanks in the frozen terrain. They had intimate knowledge of their environment and had spent generations developing equipment to not just survive in it, but thrive. Sir, Mira's voice took on a worried tone. We're detecting unusual activity in multiple ocean regions. The humans have repurposed their entire maritime transportation network. The hologram showed cargo ships being rapidly converted into makeshift carriers, fishing vessels transformed into patrol boats, and offshore oil rigs becoming defensive platforms. The humans weren't just adapting their military assets, they were weaponizing their entire civilization. These humans, Vex Thor muttered, they don't see technology the way we do. To them, everything is a potential tool, every tool is a potential weapon, and every weapon can be improved. A transmission from their Antarctic mining base interrupted his thoughts. Admiral, the humans have trained their native wildlife to assist in guerrilla operations. We're under attack by organisms called penguins equipped with improvised devices. They're surprisingly stealthy on ice. Before Vex Thor could process this bizarre development, another report arrived from Brazil. The humans are using their social media networks to crowdsource tactical solutions. They're calling it Operation Gaming the System. Civilians are submitting improvement suggestions for their defense strategies in real time. The Admiral watched as human civilization transformed itself into a global defense network. Their internet, designed for communication and commerce, became a military coordination system. Their entertainment technologies were repurposed for training simulations. Even their primitive artificial intelligence assistants were being modified to predict Federation tactical patterns. Sir, Mira said quietly, I believe we severely miscalculated. The humans don't just adapt to threats. They evolve with them. Each challenge we present is treated as an opportunity for innovation. Vex Thor made the hardest decision of his military career. Initialize withdrawal procedures, he commanded, and mark this planet as Classification Omega. Approach with extreme caution. Inhabitants display unprecedented adaptive capabilities and creative problem-solving that defies conventional military doctrine. As the Federation fleet retreated, they intercepted one final transmission from a human resistance group. Thanks for the advanced tech, guys. We've already figured out how to integrate it with our coffee makers. Come back anytime. We love a good challenge. In his final report to the Federation Council, Admiral Vex Thor wrote, the humans' greatest weapon isn't their technology or their resources. It's their ability to look at any object, system, or concept and ask themselves, how can we make this do something it was never designed to do? They don't just think outside the box, they repurpose the box as a tactical advantage. The resource war, as humans would later call it, lasted less than 2 weeks, but its impact on galactic politics would endure for centuries, as would the new galactic slang term, don't human it, meaning to solve a problem in a way that really shouldn't work but somehow does anyway. Dr. Kizoth, chief synapsychologist for the Galactic Studies Institute, stared at the data streams flowing across their neural interface. After the resource war debacle, the Federation had reassigned their best minds to understand humanity's seemingly contradictory nature. What they discovered left them more confused than ever. Display research file H1743. Kizoth commanded. their photoreceptors adjusting to the holographic display. The recording showed a human rescue operation during a massive planetary disaster on the colony world New Eden. When a quantum storm had threatened to destroy the colony's atmospheric processors, the Federation had written off the planet as lost. The humans, barely recovered from their own conflict with the Federation, had responded differently. They launched a rescue fleet consisting of hastily modified civilian vessels. Play segment marker 37A. Kizoth instructed. The footage showed a human engineer, Sarah Martinez, deliberately exposing herself to lethal radiation levels to save a group of Federation colonists trapped in a failing habitat dome. The colonists weren't even human, yet Martinez had risked everything to save them. They were our enemies just months ago, Kizoth muttered, adding notes to their research log. Now they risk their lives to save our people. Fascinating. The next file showed an incident from Earth's Antarctic Research Station. A Federation diplomatic team had become stranded during a severe storm. The humans not only rescued them but gave up their own supplies and living space to ensure their comfort. Yet these same humans, during the resource war, had shown unprecedented ferocity in defending their world. The paradox was maddening. Analysis complete, the Institute's AI announced, correlating human behavioral patterns across 7,249 documented incidents. Kizoth leaned forward as the results appeared. The data suggested something extraordinary. Humanity's capacity for empathy actually increased their effectiveness in conflict situations. They fought harder precisely because they cared more. Cross-reference with the Mars Colonization Initiative, Kizoth requested. New data streams showed humans working themselves to exhaustion, pushing through impossible conditions to establish their first off-world colony. They suffered, struggled, and lost lives in the process. Yet they celebrated each small victory as if they'd conquered a galaxy. They don't just survive, Kizoth realized. They pour their hearts into everything they do. A priority alert interrupted their analysis. A situation was developing at the newly established Joint Human Federation Space Station, Harmony Point. A critical system failure threatened the entire structure, and the Federation crew had recommended immediate evacuation. The humans had other ideas. Kizoth watched in real time as the station's human engineers refused to abandon their posts. Instead, they organized an impromptu repair operation that defied standard safety protocols. They're using their environmental suits as improvised radiation shields, Kizoth's assistant, Vale, reported. And they're singing while they do it. The humans had broken into what they called work songs, maintaining crew morale while manually venting plasma from damaged conduits. They cracked jokes in the face of death, made up nicknames for particularly dangerous repairs, and somehow turned a potential catastrophe into what they termed a team-building exercise. Update from Medical Bay, Vale announced. The humans are donating their own blood to treat injured Federation crew members. Their medical officer says their blood types aren't even compatible, but they're attempting to modify it using their biotechnology. Kizoth added another note to their research logs. Humans appear to draw strength from helping others. The more dire the situation, the more they demonstrate both battlefield ferocity and profound compassion. The station crisis revealed another aspect of human nature. When a Federation crew member became trapped in a sealed compartment, the humans didn't just try to save them. They actively competed to devise the most effective rescue plan. They're turning a rescue operation into a problem-solving competition. Vale observed, their neural patterns expressing disbelief. And it's working. Efficiency has increased by 47%. The situation at Harmony Point was resolved without casualties, but it left Kizoth with more questions than answers. The humans had simultaneously demonstrated selfless sacrifice, innovative problem-solving, and an almost aggressive determination to succeed. In their final report to the Institute, Kizoth wrote, "The human empathy paradox cannot be resolved through conventional psychological models. They are simultaneously the most compassionate and most formidable species we have encountered. They will fight to the death to protect others, sacrifice themselves for strangers, and turn potential tragedies into opportunities for cooperation. Most concerning, the report continued, they appear to be actively spreading this behavioral pattern to other species. Federation crews exposed to human teams show a 300% increase in what humans call thinking outside the box, and a 500% increase in voluntary risk-taking for the benefit of others. The Institute's response was unprecedented. For the first time in its history, it created a new classification for a species' psychological profile. Humanity, warning, will attempt to save you whether you want them to or not. Resistance to their help is futile and may result in being adopted into what they call the space family. As Kizoth completed their analysis, they received one final piece of data. The humans had taken the Federation's evacuation protocols and rewritten them to include mandatory rescue attempts. They called it the No One Left Behind initiative. Perhaps, Kizoth concluded, the true paradox isn't in human psychology at all. The paradox is that the rest of us never realized that compassion and determination could be two sides of the same coin. Deep Space Research Station Omega floated at the edge of known space, its crystalline structures gleaming against the backdrop of an unexplored nebula. Chief Science Officer Enxpella monitored the incoming data with growing concern. Something was very wrong with the station's quantum core. Status report, Station Commander Yith demanded, his energy form flickering with anxiety. The containment field is destabilizing. Angstvala responded, her tentacles dancing across the holographic controls. We have maybe 6 hours before catastrophic failure. The station's crew of 30 Federation scientists represented the galaxy's finest minds. Yet none of their proposed solutions could prevent the inevitable collapse. That's when Commander Yith made a desperate decision. Contact the human research vessel in Sector 7, he ordered. What do they call it? The Einstein's coffee house, sir, his communications officer supplied. Within minutes, the human response arrived. Instead of the expected scientific delegation, they sent what they called their Engineering Emergency Response Team, or as they nicknamed themselves, the Hold My Beer Brigade. Lead engineer Maria Santos strode onto Omega's command deck, carrying what appeared to be a standard toolkit and a large container of coffee. Her team followed, already scanning the station with modified consumer electronics. So, Santos said, studying the quantum core readings, you've got an unstable quantum containment field, and about 5 hours and 43 minutes before this whole place goes boom. Cool. Let's get creative. Commander Yith watched in bewilderment as the humans spread out through the station, examining everything from the main power conduits to the waste recycling systems. They didn't just focus on the obvious problems. They seemed interested in every piece of technology the station possessed. Chief Santos, Enxvala interrupted, shouldn't we focus on the quantum core? Oh, we are, Santos replied while dismantling a food synthesizer. Tom, how's that artificial gravity modification coming along? Almost done, Engineer Tom Chen called back. You were right. We can use the gravity generators to create a makeshift containment field. It's not exactly standard procedure, but standard procedure is for people who aren't about to witness a quantum core breach, Santos quipped. Lily, how's the coffee maker conversion going? Engineer Lily Potol looked up from where she was apparently rebuilding the station's beverage dispensers. Almost got it. These things use quantum heating to make drinks. If we reverse the polarity and link it to the main core. Commander Yith's energy form pulsed with confusion. You're trying to save a space station with coffee makers. Not exactly, Santos explained, her eyes never leaving her work. We're using the quantum heating elements from your beverage systems to create a resonance field that should help stabilize the core. Also, we figure out your waste recycling system uses similar technology to our experimental fusion containment methods. Funny how that works. The humans moved with practiced efficiency, but what shocked the Federation crew most was their attitude. They treated the potential destruction of the station as an interesting puzzle rather than a crisis. Hey Maria, Engineer Chen called out, Remember that time we had to restart a fusion reactor with a microwave and some paper clips? Good times, Santos laughed. This is way easier. At least we have actual tools this time. 4 hours into their work, the humans had essentially rebuilt half the station's systems. They'd converted emergency lighting into power regulators, repurposed communication arrays into energy sinks, and somehow turned the station's waste management system into what they called a quantum pressure relief valve. I don't understand, Angstvelat admitted, watching the core readings stabilize. None of these components were designed for these purposes. That's the beauty of it, Santos replied, wiping grease from her hands. Everything's connected when you think about it right. Your quantum heating technology for beverages works on similar principles to containment fields. It's just a matter of scale and application. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most obvious one. The station's AI interrupted with an update, quantum core stabilizing. Containment field integrity at 98.7% and rising. Warning: unable to classify current station configuration. Multiple systems operating outside design parameters. Yeah, it'll do that, Santos chuckled. We kind of had to get creative with the programming too. Your eye might start making coffee now, but trust me, it's really good coffee. Commander Yith's energy form pulsed with a mixture of relief and confusion. You saved the station by ignoring how everything was supposed to work. Not ignoring, Santos corrected, accepting a cup of apparently AI-made coffee. We just looked at what things could do rather than what they were meant to do. In our experience, most technology has way more potential than its original design suggests. The Federation crew watched in amazement as their station, now operating in ways that defied standard physics, actually performed better than before the crisis. The humans had not only saved them, but had inadvertently upgraded almost every system on board. Before we go, Santos added, handing over a data pad, we wrote up some suggestions for future improvements. Also, your food synthesizers can make pizza now. You're welcome. In his official report, Commander Yith wrote, the humans don't see technology as fixed in its purpose. To them, every device, system, or protocol is merely a starting point for innovation. Most concerningly, they appear to be at their most creative when facing imminent destruction. He added a personal note. Perhaps the most dangerous thing about humans isn't their ability to solve problems, but their refusal to acknowledge that problems can't be solved. They don't see impossibility. They see unexplored possibilities. As the Einstein's coffeehouse prepared to depart, Santos turned to Commander Yith with a grin. By the way, we notice your faster-than-light drive could use some tweaking. Give us a call if you want to see what happens when you cross it with a toaster. Trust me, the results are interesting. The commander's energy form flickered in what might have been a shudder. The humans were leaving, but their influence would remain. In the station's improved systems, in its pizza-making capabilities, and in the subtle but unmistakable lesson they had taught. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to completely reimagine what's possible. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Federation hummed with tense energy as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for an unprecedented session. At the center of the debate, Earth and its inexplicable inhabitants. High Counselor Zena, their plasma form shimmering with concern, called the session to order. We are here to assess humanity's status within the galactic community. The evidence compiled is disturbing. The chamber's holographic display activated, showing scenes from the past several cycles. The Resource Wars failed invasion, the Harmony Point crisis, the Omega Station incident. Each event demonstrated humanity's unique capabilities in ways that defied conventional understanding. First, we will hear from Dr. Kazoth, our chief synopsychologist, Zena announced. Kazoth floated to the speaking platform, their photoreceptors scanning the assembled dignitaries. Distinguished council members, humanity represents something we've never encountered before. They combine the technological innovation of advanced civilizations with the adaptability of emerging species, while possessing the determination of survivors and the compassion of healers. The display shifted to show human emergency responses across various crises. They don't just solve problems. Kizoth continued. They'd redefine them. When faced with impossible situations, they treat them as personal challenges. Most concerning, they appear to enjoy these challenges. Admiral Vexthor spoke next, his scaled armor still bearing scars from the resource war. Their military capabilities aren't based on superior technology or numbers, but on their ability to turn anything, literally anything, into an advantage. They weaponized their planet's weather, turned civilian infrastructure into defense systems, and somehow used pictures of small furry animals to demoralize our troops. The chamber erupted in murmurs as Station Commander Yith shared footage from the Omega Station incident. They saved my station using beverage dispensers and waste management systems, he reported, his energy form pulsing with remembered amazement. Then they improved everything else, apparently just because they could. The humans have a saying, Dr. Kizoth added. Necessity is the mother of invention. But they don't wait for necessity. They innovate constantly, turning every scenario into an opportunity for improvement. The Council watched footage of human scientists collaborating with Federation researchers. Where Federation protocols called for careful, methodical progress, humans suggested wild theories and impossible experiments, which somehow often worked. They've begun influencing other species, a delegate from the Hive Collective noted. Our workers have started asking what-if questions. Do you understand how disturbing that is for a hive mind? High Counselor Zena raised their appendages for silence. The question before us is clear. How do we proceed? Humanity's innovation rate exceeds our predictive models. Their influence on galactic society grows daily. Traditional containment protocols have proven ineffective. Ineffective is an understatement. Admiral Vexthor interjected. They turned our last containment barrier into an interstellar communication network. They called it really cool space Wi-Fi. A new voice interrupted the proceedings. Perhaps we're asking the wrong question. All eyes turned to Ambassador Sarah Chen, the same Sarah Chen who had first contacted the Eternal Seeker years ago. The humans had insisted on having a representative present for any discussion about their species. The question isn't how to contain humanity, Chen continued, stepping onto the speaking platform. It's how we can work together. Yes, we solve problems differently. Yes, we tend to ignore impossible odds. But isn't that exactly what the galaxy needs? She gestured to the display, which now showed various Human Federation collaboration projects. Look at what we've already accomplished together. Your precision combined with our creativity. Your experience with our innovation. Your technology with our unusual applications of it. You turned a quantum computer into a coffee maker, someone in the chamber pointed out. And it makes great coffee, Chen replied with a smile. But it also led to breakthroughs in quantum field manipulation. Sometimes the best discoveries come from asking why not instead of why. The chamber fell silent as she continued. We don't want to change the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, and yes, maybe improve a few things along the way. Is that really so terrifying? High Counselor Zena's plasma form rippled thoughtfully. And if we welcome humanity fully into the galactic community, then we face the unknown together, Chen answered. And trust me, facing the unknown is humanity's specialty. We've been doing it since we first looked up at the stars and decided to reach them, no matter what it took. The Council deliberated for 3 full cycles. Their final decision would change the course of galactic history. Humanity is hereby classified as a paradox species, simultaneously the most unpredictable and most essential member of the galactic community. Their influence cannot be contained, only channeled. Therefore, we choose to embrace their chaos and learn from their impossible achievements. In the years that followed, the galaxy experienced what historians would call the human renaissance. Federation technology merged with human creativity, leading to innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. Space stations began producing surprisingly good coffee. Ships became faster, more efficient, and somehow more comfortable. Problems that had stumped the greatest minds for centuries were solved by humans asking what-if questions that no one else had thought to ask. And through it all, humanity continued to do what it did best, looking at the impossible and saying, "Challenge accepted." As Ambassador Chen later remarked in her memoirs, the galaxy feared we would bring chaos to their order. Instead, we showed them that sometimes chaos is just order waiting to be discovered, usually with the help of coffee, duct tape, and the occasional violation of physics.